Welcome to our podcast, Living by the Mantras.
It's great to be here.
I'm your host, Colleensouza, and I have
Brian Souza here
as your co-host. And we are so excited to dig a little deeper into the book that I wrote called Living by the Mantras, Common Sense Wisdom for an Extraordinary Life. And the book is broken down into statements, mantras, silly things that we said in our household and I said in my classroom that we've used in our business to help remind us of common core values that are so critical. They're common sense, but they're just not that common anymore. And so today we're going to dig into one that we used in our household. It was leave it better than you found it. And that leave it better than you found it mantra meant what?
Great principle. Absolutely. Leave it better than you found it. It's self-explanatory.
It's
respect.
Thank you. I knew it was going to come out. I'm all, come on, buddy. Punchline. It's respect. We're going to talk about respect. And for the next few episodes, we're going to dig deep because respect is so core, critical to human understanding, to humans getting along, to the world being a more peaceful place. Yet we need to redefine it because I think there's a lack of it. So we're going to talk about that. So what is respect? Respect is defined as admiration, due regard, showing the respect for an individual, for their work, for their efforts, for their property. It's showing them admiration and it's giving them attention. So that's the definition of respect.
I think another way to do this.
Give another way to do it.
Another way to do this is if you can't really frame what respect is, it's really easy. What is disrespect? Boom. You can easily identify, oh, that person looked at me wrong. Or that person didn't talk to me right. Can you believe what that person said to me? Oh my gosh, I can't believe what that person just texted me, posted, whatever. You can identify disrespect immediately in today's world. And so that gives you a framework to say the opposite. And that leads you towards understanding what respect truly is.
That's a really great way to define it. Yeah, because often our human nature is to default to the negative instead of looking at the positive, and that's really true. I'm going to start off with what you were saying. I have a feeling you're going to agree with me on this one, but in general, I feel as though individual human beings of the world are displaying less respect.
Just a little bit more disrespect going around these days.
Okay, I think we're seeing a lot more disrespect.
I agree with that.
That value is being lost. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think one big, huge reason the whole world can identify is COVID. COVID shut down everything. It shut down not only, people and family and businesses and churches and things like that, but it also shut down human interaction. Everything became virtual. And so, when we were growing up, Colleen, we were born in the 60s and grew up in the 70s. You got outside, you played, you interacted with each other, and that's what happened. And one interesting thing is that stopped happening during COVID. So people interacted online with their phones, with their computers, with what the Zoom calls us more natural, which really there's a component of it that's a little bit natural. At least to see facial expressions, but still loses a bit of the humanity when you're around people, right? I might disagree with what you have to say. And
he never does that, by the way, ever.
Occasionally, once in a while.
Disagrees with anything I say.
But in person, you are a lot more, balanced, a lot more etiquette oriented. You're a lot more wanting to make sure that you create a win-win solution. Whereas online, we have found in the last 5 years or so, a lot of that etiquette's been lost. A lot of that is just my opinion is right, and I'm going to write it, and I'm going to text it, and those kinds of things.
Well, and I think that there's a point to that. And one of the reasons for that, one of the very valid reasons for that is when we are in proximity to another person, we all emit energy, and our energy is shared with one another.
Energy is real. It is
and so
real.
You're going to be respectful, and you're going to be able to read the energy you're getting from somebody else. Therefore, you're going to respond in kind, or you're more likely to respond in kind, and you're more likely to even hold your tongue because it's harder to be unkind to a person with the energy around you when you're face to face. And that unkindness is part of the disrespect.
I 100%
and so I
agree.
think that there's definitely that piece of us going, because post-COVID, we spent the last 2 mornings at a workshop, a training, and it was 100% digital. The group of people, there were a couple thousand of us from all over the nation. And I appreciated the opportunity to not spend a whole bunch of money to fly to this workshop. But at the same time, every experience was different because we weren't in person. But on top of the COVID piece, I'm going to throw out there, let's talk about the impact that something like social media and texting and that kind of ritual has had on respect?
Yeah, so here's the key principle. Respect is earned. It can't be demanded. So respect is earned. It can't be demanded. So you have to realize that there's a mutual connection with respect. If I respect you, you respect me. If I disrespect you, what's going to happen?
Most likely, I'm going to shut you down and disrespect you back.
Exactly.
Whether I do it silently or with my own snide remark, yeah.
And so online and texting and things like that, if you lead in a fashion that is disrespectful and you're surprised that you're getting disrespect back,
I'm simply shocked.
Maybe you need to lead by example, because remember, respect is earned.
And I think there's such a value in that. And I think that we have to understand, depends, I mean, I know there are multiple demographics and age groups potentially listening and watching the podcast. Yeah. So if you are of that more wise, we'll call it older generation, you're going to remember back to the days. And as we went through our youth, as Brian shared, that we were born in the late 60s and grew up in the 70s, and we were out there doing stupid things before the lights came on that made our signal that it was time to go home for dinner kind of thing. Yep. With that being said, we were constantly interacting. And so if we decided to be a bully or disrespect, that got solved before we ever got home most of the time, because somebody got mad, someone threw a fit. If you were boys, you threw a punch and then you got over it. Whatever happened, we resolved those and we learned to respect through that interaction. We have a whole 2 generations now, and we have the 3rd one coming. So
I mean, even our phones had umbilical cords, right? And they were in the kitchen with the umbilical cord attached to the wall. And so if our parents heard us disrespecting our friends,
because we all had to listen to each other's
you weren't in some room FaceTiming them or texting them or whatever. It was out in the open. It was like, no, you don't talk to people that way.
Right. Well, and I was going to say, if you study all these generations, we've had the millennials go through, and because we have 2 that are on the young end of millennials, it was the emerging technology, but there was still that texting and all the emailing, and it's become a part of their adult lives. Because we have our fabulous little blessing of Gracie, who is just 21 years old soon. She grew up more Gen Z for sure.
Absolutely.
But she's never not experienced immersive technology. I mean, I shared in the book that I haven't, when she was home with us, she's now off on her own, I would walk into a room and I'd always ask the question, who am I in here with? Who am I in here with? Because if I was just waking up in the morning and slumping to the coffee pot in my slippers, was I with one of her best friends, or was I with one of
Because Grace had her phone on FaceTime
all the time. Well, and she used
on Wi-Fi for hours.
Yeah, but she would use it to relate and communicate with her older brother and sister who lived away at college. And one of her best friends. But I would ask that question because I didn't want to walk behind the camera, looking in my morning best if I didn't know who was in the room, right? So that kind of immersive technology, and now we have the Gen Alphas who are mid-elementary school years heading into junior high or wherever that cutoff is. They all have spent so much time this way and in the screen, and less time out there interacting and learning that respect before they came home to the dinner table, that it is a challenge because it's not going to instantly convert when they put their phone down and are suddenly looking at their teacher, or they put their phone down and are looking at their parents or other people. They're going to not have
We are not against technology. Let me get that out there right now. We are not. So our kids lived overseas. So our son lived in Spain. Our daughter lived in Italy. Our son moved to Canada. Our daughter moved to New York. And having that FaceTime is absolutely valuable.
It kept our family very close.
Kept our family very, very close. But what you're saying is, remember, just like anything else, it's a tool. And there's ways to use tools properly, and there's ways to use tools improperly. You can take a hammer and do everything with it. You can break things with it too if you're not using it properly, right? So what we're asking you to think about is, how can you use your phone, your computer, in today's world technology to create more respect mutually?
And we're going to spend, in our next episode, we're going to take a look very specifically at how whether we have children or not, we are all surrounded by that next generation that's coming up. Some of us in our places of employment have young people, and we're knocking our head against the wall as we're watching them try to struggle to fit into the work world. We're going to talk about how we get the next generation to understand respect, but I still want us to understand and define the fact that we have to put those screens down and we have to look at other people. I mean, I will ask the next question that I wanted to ask. How is respect a reflection of your character? Character being what describes you, who you are, who you want to be representing.
Your character is built on a foundation, right? So those foundation principles, those common core values of who you are as a person. You know, are you loving? Are you caring? Are you generous? And all the things that Colleen writes about in her book. Going back to the technology, you know, in our real estate business, even last week, I used a Zoom call to help sellers in multiple states, siblings, sell a property here locally. But I had to respect the fact that I was in 3 different time zones. This family really needs our help and wants guidance. And so I had to give them respect. They had to see my face. They had to hear what I had to say. Was not demanding you listen to me, but how can I best serve you? And I think that's when we look at the leadership principles we're going to be talking about, how can you be a servant leader so that you can lead with respect?
Well, and I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I think that one of the ways that it defines us, because, well, it kind of jumps to the next thing. So let's blend them together. For respect to show up, I believe we first have to respect ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about that just a little bit, because then I think it kind of, the questions maybe should just have been one, because it does define our character. So one thing that Brian is very well known for is having integrity and respect well beyond many other people in the world. I give him a lot of credit and respect for that. He's taught me that really, you know, your character is defined by the things you say and the things you do. And if you say you're going to do it, do it. Okay. So that's, I think integrity is a piece of respect, but what you were just talking about is active listening, because that's a huge part of showing respect. When you actively listen, like when he had a client, whether it's your child, whether it's a coworker, and sometimes even to yourself, take the time to actively listen to the words being said. Because I think we all do this way too much, and he and I will do it with each other, because we've become I want to say the unimind over time, because we've been married for 36 years and we were together for 3 years before that. And so
that's almost 40 years, people.
Yeah, we rely on each other, and we finish each other's sentences and such things. But therefore, one or the other of us is often thinking of what we want to respond with from the very first part of, you know, in this training we were just in. You know, I heard this and I was immediately like, blah, 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 blah. And what I needed to do to show him respect was hear his entire thought and then see if what I was going to share in response came together with that. So I think that one of the ways that we show our character is by being a really good listener, because listening is, I mean, would you agree?
I 100% agree with active listening. I think it's very important. I think another thing you need to really realize is words matter. Words matter. And so as you listen to this podcast and then you pick up on an idea or two that you can implement in your life, in your business, in your family today, think about how you're saying those words, think about the connotations of those words, and think about the fact that you're being intentional with those words. So for example, going back to what you said just a few minutes ago, you know, when you talk about things that you said to your kids or your business partners, your family, we always told our kids, when you go outside our home, you represent the Souza name. People will talk about you in one way or the other. So as you represent yourself in the world, you will be representing our family. How do we change that to our employees? When you go out as an agent for my company and you go and you interact with buyers and sellers, you're going to be representing me and my company. When that Starbucks representative is handing you your personalized coffee that they have made just for you with your name on it, they're representing Starbucks, right? And I'm just putting Starbucks out there because we've never had a poor experience there, right? So whatever business you can talk about, you have representatives that reflect that business, both in their words and their deeds. And you respect that business based on the interactions with that business individual.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I'm going to take that to the parenting piece too, because, there's times, and I share this in my, if you want to know more, I mean, please feel free to pick up the book, but I think in our own experiences, we need to be the authority. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying be willy-nilly and loosey-goosey in your parenting. I'm very much about the fact that my role is not to be my kid's friend, but to be their parent. At the same time, though, if I want them to respectfully respond to me in a particular way, I have to do it to them first. I have to show them respect and not treat them like I don't think they have a brain and like I don't think that they can understand me or that I don't think they can be responsible. And when they feel like I respect their ability to whatever might be going on, to set the table, and of course there's training and correction, but I trust you if I ask you to set the table. If you disrespect me and walk away and don't do it, then we're going to have a conversation about why you didn't listen to me. But in the same way, if they've asked me to help them with something and I blow them off every single time, there's probably a little reciprocity going on there. They don't feel like respecting me because they don't feel respected. So you have to find that dynamic that's super important. So that would also be consistent and reliable. I think that's another thing about it. So we have active listening, which is important, but consistency and reliability is huge because, how do you think those play into?
Well, so there's I can count on you if you can count on me, right? So that's once again that mutual respect. So in a real practical way for the young parents there that are starting out their career in parenting, right? And
It is a career.
The kids are not putting away their toys. I don't know why. I've asked them once. So the choices are, how would you handle that situation if you wanted to have the kids put away their toys? What's one way you could approach that?
Oh, well, there's I always like to say to my kids, there's like 10 ways to do anything. But one of the ways is you create a reward system, and you have, we talk about this at our choices chapter, but there's incentives and you make this choice and here's your reward for it. Congratulating them, just encouraging them. One toy, play a game with them. Oh, I know why you're not doing it. You can't even get one toy in the basket. I can too. Okay, well, I guess you're gonna have to prove it to me. And then maybe you throw a toy in and then they throw a toy in. The idea is that you have a respectful interaction. Screaming at them louder and louder.
That does not work. That does not work. Give them choices that you want to have accomplished.
Screaming at them is not the way to get that done.
Do you want to put your toys away before you go outside to play? Or do you want to go outside to play and then put your toys away when you come back? So those are ways to encourage.
And if you don't ever put those toys away tomorrow, you won't go outside to play, or those toys will be removed for a day. There's ways to do it that show respect, but it's consistency too. And it's always, if you say you're going to do it, do it. And one example I can give is I know as a busy working mom, I was a teacher and then I became a realtor with Brian. I've always been busy and working, but I have successful, healthy kids. And they show me respect back. There isn't a day that doesn't go by where one of them doesn't call me and check in with mom, even though they're grown up and far away. But that came from the fact that if I said, we're gonna go after lunch today on a Saturday, we'll go shopping, like I said. Now let's just say an important client situation came up, which comes up a lot in real estate.
Absolutely.
Instead of just saying, sorry, them's the breaks, I would say, okay, I'm so sorry that I have to not go shopping with you right now. But something else we've been wanting to do is you've been wanting to play that video game with me. And so since I can't give you this time now, I'm gonna give you this time this evening. And I promise you an hour of my time tonight to play your favorite video game or read a book with you or whatever your kid's into. The point with that is that there's a consistency. You say you're going to do it and it's part of respect. You actually do it. That way you can pull it back on them. And you can transfer this situation. This could be with a coworker. I'll take your shift for you this time.
Yeah.
And then in return, you take a shift for me. Whatever it is, it's having that consistency and fairness.
I think something that Colleen just said is really important. And she said that human beings are incentivized in different ways. And what she said, there's lots of examples. So the example that she gave, I want you to recognize, was not punitive. So if you don't do this, you won't get that. So whether it's parenting or business or whatever it is, it's incentivized. So some people are incentivized by money. Some people are incentivized by winning. Some people are incentivized by a non-tangible reward, like an attaboy or a good job or a compliment. Some people are incentivized by appreciation. There's a lot of there's a lot of different
Stop to
ways.
appreciate him and all things are done.
There's a lot of ways to incentivize human beings. And when you think about the fact that we as humans like compliments, we like to be rewarded. There's motivating factors. And the way that you encourage people to act at their highest level of performance is to look and find ways that actually spins their wheel in a positive way, whether they're a child or an adult, someone that you're trying to raise or encourage or coach on a team or a business team. It doesn't really matter. All of it's the same. You just figure out what makes their wheels turn.
What makes their wheels turn? I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on to that one. I'm gonna shift back a little bit to the self-respect piece, because I think something else that I want to talk about that
It's so
helps
important.
with self-respect. All the things we talked about. Be an active listener, and then expect listening and share that I would really like you to listen to this now. All those things can be turned around and reciprocated. Be reliable, and then expect reliability, and expect it because you respect yourself. Here's another one, and this has to do with a level of humility. I think a lot of people like to be, and this is really dating myself, to be the Fonz. Hey, we're going
You guys
back
remember
to
Happy Days?
Happy Days. The Fonz could never say, I'm
Wrong.
He could not say the word wrong because he never wanted to admit his mistakes.
wrong, yeah.
Response. Okay, our kids look at us really weird when we talk about old TV shows like that. But here's the bottom line: we have to be able to apologize
Yes.
when we've been the one to make the mistake,
Yeah.
because through that apology, we are showing humility, and
Taking ownership.
we are taking ownership, and
Yeah.
we're respecting the person we wronged. It can be a major thing or a minor thing. On a business team, it could be that you made a prediction, or you said you'd do something and you didn't either do it to everyone's expectations, or you dropped the ball and didn't. Don't try to pin it on everyone else. Respect yourself enough and respect the team enough to say, I dropped that ball, but here's how I'll fix it. Obviously, you have to have solutions to your problems, whole nother mantra. But the bottom line is we respect ourselves when we have humility, and we offer that out to people.
Right.
But we also need to expect it back. It's okay in a kind way and not being a total pain in the backside about it. But I'll hold my ground. I had to learn how. I used to be being a whole lot more snippy, but I'll just look at him and, okay, I'll take your apology when you're ready. And by doing so, I'm saying I'm going to respect, myself and make sure that I get that. And then there's one more
Okay, here we go.
that I really want to throw at you. And this is both a part of self-respect and the respect of others. Here's a big one that people just don't do anymore, and that is boundaries.
Boundaries are so important.
He had no idea what was going to come out of my mouth. He's like, okay, spit it out, woman.
So a line in the sand, a line in the sand. Here's where my yes stops and my no begins, right? And so that line in the sand has been kind of kicked around quite a bit, where that line is moving all around all the time. They call it moving the goalpost today. And, you got to decide what your line in the sand is, the things that you won't cross. And in our family, in our business, we have actually taught both our children and our colleagues that there are hard and fast values that you won't cross. So, for example, telling a lie, where it's absolutely wrong. What you're going to say out loud is not right, is misleading, it's not the truth. That's a line that you can't cross. So you got to tell the truth, because you know what, everyone, the truth is easy to remember.
Yeah,
Right?
That's a big one. And I think that boundaries in your time, okay, it's okay to say, and we said this in one of the last episodes. Brian, what's a complete sentence? The word
No, it's a complete sentence.
And I remember in one of our episodes about being transparent in your authentic self, we talked about boundaries. And here it comes up again in respect. For self-respect, you have to know how much do you have in you each day. And
It's called bandwidth today, or capacity.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Well, yesterday would be
Yes.
one of those days for us.
Yep.
We intended to record this podcast on our little business calendar where we've got all kinds of things filled in.
Yeah.
We had down yesterday to record this episode, but we've been busy. We've been in a class. We have some real estate transactions going on. we just had a lot going on, and we looked at one another when it
Yeah,
came
very
to,
busy afternoon.
yeah, and when it came time for just where we slotted in the afternoon that we were going to do this podcast, we both just looked at each other and went, yeah, it won't come out very
Not
well.
gonna happen.
Because we knew that we had boundaries to set. We had to take some time and take a deep breath. Those are the kinds of boundaries I'm talking about. They're not always, about huge earth-shattering truths, but it's just, if you understand, if you respect yourself enough to understand that you are able to do something or not able to do something, sometimes it's not connecting with a friend because you're not in the headspace where you're going to be kind when you're with them, or you're going to make great choices while you're out with them, and be able to establish some boundaries around yourself. And then in turn, what about expecting, how do we treat the boundaries of others?
We want to respect their boundaries too, right? So at the end of the day, if you have something planned that maybe you need to pin another date and those kinds of things, it's very, very important. I also want you to recognize this, is that, we're Gen Xers, and our prior generation is the baby boomers, right? And then you have the millennials, and then you have the Gen Zs and alphas. And every generation has different characteristics, right?
Absolutely.
So in our generation, it was, can I work 2 jobs, 3 jobs? Can I work overtime? Can I continue to work nonstop? Can I work 12 hours, 15 hours a day? Can I go to college and put myself through and sleep for 3 hours? I'm not talking, actually, I'm talking from personal experience, right? And the idea of burnout came along, and we didn't even know that burnout was an actual thing until later on we recognized, that's probably unhealthy. So
then the next generation has, and for my millennial listeners, hopefully you can chuckle at yourself, because you're chuckling at us because we represent mostly like your parents. You guys have embraced the polar opposite of that.
Absolute polar opposite. And
we're
then
going to enjoy our lives, and we're going to chill out, and we're going to make sure we have our vacations, and we're going to travel and work from our vacations. And those Generation Xers are like, what?
So realize that if you think, well, I'm an exception or I'm alone, there are some characteristics that are indicative of your generation.
That's
simply
true.
By the social events that have happened in your lifetime, the technology that's been in place in your lifetime, and this is a fast moving world, and
right.
We all try to remember Mayberry, but that's not the case of today. The world's moving at a very fast pace, especially with AI and all those things that are going to be affecting our lives. Colleen mentioned that you need to have self-respect, and so understanding that you have boundaries is very, very important. And so planning time for your self-health, for your self-worth, for your business, for your family time, for your time with your friends, for time for self-improvement is really time blocking and being intentional with your self-care.
It is. And time blocking is I'm not even sure it's one of the mantras, but I'll probably somewhere along the line do an episode about it. Yeah, it'll be a bonus episode somewhere in the future, because it's how I survive a busy schedule, and it's so very vital.
Available for that.
Because it allows you to set all kinds of boundaries, yet have a lot of freedom. And I agree with that. And I think that really, as we've been hanging out here for about a half an hour, and I always like to keep an eye on the time and not keep people too long. We're gonna, as you can tell, there's so much to talk about when we talk about respect. And in our coming episodes, we're gonna take a look at how we share that with the next generation. We're gonna take a look at specifically how respect leads, or how leadership comes from a person of respect, and how we share that out. It's just, and how really, truly, I believe that respect can change the world if we begin to, and it's that pebble in the water. When you toss it, it has that rippling effect, and it goes outwards. And I believe that we always touch about three people for every person. For ourselves, we affect about 3 people deep. And I think it's super important that if we can embrace this idea of leaving the world around us better than we found it, having respect, we're going to empower the spaces in our world with far more positive adoration, due regard. And I think that that's super important. So here's my challenge. You can download this and share this episode if you enjoy it. Take a look at the last set of 4 that were all about being our true authentic self. Tune in as we continue to look at respect for the next few episodes. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can You can subscribe. You can
Make a comment.
Please comment down below because we'd love to hear what
What's
you have
the
to
best
say.
way to show respect?
Yeah, what do you think the best way to show respect is?
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to leave with a challenge. And the challenge that I want to leave you with is kind of twofold this week. I want you to become aware, just pay attention to the places where you see disrespect, because like Brian said, it's easier to
Easy to
identify that,
find.
or find yourself leaning toward a disrespectful attitude. And then in turn, I want you to seek places where you see respect and places where you tend to be the most respectful or are very comfortable being respectful, because identification of it, and that's kind of what we talked about today, really is the first step to making sure that value is embedded in who you are. So I encourage you to go to livingbythemantras.com. We have all the links available here. You can order the book, you can see the other podcasts, and we really look forward to seeing you next time.
Remember that today we talked about living by the mantras, and the key is leaving things better than you found it. But if you don't like that mantra, make up your own.
Yeah.
What's your mantra?
What's your mantra? We use that one in our world.
Yep.
And if it doesn't work for you, but something else makes you think of respect, put that in front of yourself. Put it on a Post-it note. Write it across the mirror in a dry erase marker. Put it on the refrigerator with a magnet. And tell yourself on a daily basis to show respect in the world around you. So we appreciate you. I'm trying to give you a high five. There's my man. All right. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.